You're listening to the Everything Kids Books podcast, hosted by Erin Mackey, a podcast for little learners and their parents who love to read together, as well as the authors who write the books they love. Erin's written over 20 books for elementary and middle schoolers and has published 5 books. Together, we'll be reading chapters of your favorite books, sharing your original works, giving writing and marketing tips, and interviewing other professionals in the children's book profession. Let's dive in, shall we?
Hi, everybody. This is Erin Mackey hosting Everything Kids Books. And tonight we are doing an author interview with children's author Erin Sponaugle. Erin, how are you this evening?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing well. Can you tell us a little bit about what genre you write?
Sure. I am a children's book author and illustrator. My books are geared for the grades 2 through 4 crowd. I wrote my first book a few years ago and illustrated it as well, and I'm getting ready to complete my second book that I have written and illustrated, hopefully to be finished by the end of this year.
Wonderful. Now, you said you wrote your first book a couple years ago. Is that when you started writing in general, or have you been writing longer than that?
Well, that was my first children's book. Prior to that, I had done blogging. I had a blog for teachers called the Techno Classroom, where I wrote about technology and apps that were good for students and classrooms. I am a 5th grade teacher, or a former 5th grade teacher, rather. I am just changed my classroom situation to art. So I'm a first-year art teacher, even though I've been teaching for 16 years. But I had done writing for the educational scene prior to this. But in 2014, I was the State Teacher of the Year for West Virginia. And I had this bear puppet that I took around the state with me to take pictures of, and I had a children's blog about West Virginia, so I could keep the kids in the state updated on the places I went around the state so they could learn more about West Virginia as I traveled around. And by the end of the year, I had this great blog of all these places, and I wanted to turn it into a book for kids. So that's how The Adventures of Berkeley the Bear was born. And after not drawing anything for 15 years, I decided that I really wanted to do the illustrations, even though I was a little rusty in the drawing department. So I had a lot of learning to do, but it's brought me a lot of joy. And I can say honestly that had that not happened, I probably wouldn't have become an art teacher today, because it renewed my interest in the creative aspects in my life. So I never would have put writing children's books on the radar until a couple years ago, but it has really opened up a new world of learning for me, and it's become something that I really enjoy, interacting with other authors and learning about the craft so that I can do this well. And even though I'm only working on book 2, or I only got one more book in the queue, I'm have a long-term plan for where I would like to take my writing journey.
That's wonderful. Now, you said your first book that you published, it was titled, was that The Adventures of Berkeley the Bear?
Yes.
Okay. And what is the next book title that you are getting ready to release?
Okay. So I wanted to do this as a series.
Okay.
So the first book is The Adventures of Berkeley the Bear, where he travels West Virginia and teaches the kids about the state and the landmarks and the geography. This book is called Berkeley is a Rocket Bear. So it's the next book in the series, but Berkeley is going to be learning about space. He's going to camp with some students from West Virginia, and they are going to learn about science and STEM. But most importantly, he is also going to be learning about differently abled children, and that everybody has special abilities. Even if we don't all seem the same, we are all capable of great things. So I'm looking forward to sharing that. I've put a lot of work into it. I know that we kind of push for integration of STEM and STEAM in math and science in our schools. So I'm hoping that this will be a great way to integrate literature in the classroom along with those topics.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way to bring the STEM world into children's books for that age range. I think that's wonderful. Now, where is Adventures of Berkeley the Bear available right now?
It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, wherever books are sold online. I know there are a couple of local stores if you're in the tri-state area, Martinsburg, West Virginia, that vicinity, that carry it as well, some smaller shops. But anywhere online where books are sold, you can purchase Berkeley the Bear.
Okay. And is that a hardcover or paperback? And
it's a paperback.
Paperback? Okay.
Yes.
And is it available as an ebook at all?
It is not available as an ebook.
Okay.
So, no.
That's okay. That's okay. So paperback for that, definitely. We can find that on Amazon or, like you said, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. Any tips that you can think of for our future writers who are listening?
Well, I know there are a lot of people right now that are in situations where they are not able to get out or not able to do the things that they would normally be doing. As I tell my students, this is not the normal that we want, but it's the normal that we have. And, sometimes we focus so much on what we're missing out on that we don't stop and look at how we can use situations that are not what we would like them to be to our benefit. And a wonderful thing that you can do right now is write and record about what's going on right now, because this is a historic time in our world, in our country's history. But this is a great time for anyone to start writing or start thinking like a writer. What could you create? What could you put together to share with the world? And everybody, whether you realize it or not, has a story, has something that is somebody else does not know anything about. So the most important thing, if you want to be a writer, is to get started. It doesn't have to be what you think is the very best. It doesn't have to be what you it has to be your final product. There's a lot of revision that goes into being a writer too, but the most important thing is that you start and that you get it on paper, and you might be surprised on where things turn out. And, like I said, everyone's got something that's happened to them that nobody else knows about. There are ideas that you may have that can lead to some really great ideas, but you just have to get them on paper and start moving them around, and you'll see where things can go. If you are already established as a writer, or if you are serious about writing and getting into the craft, I would really recommend connecting with as many people that have started and can help you out on your journey as well. I know that I met you at a book fair, a couple years ago in Harper's Ferry, and I learned a lot from you just from our first meeting. So, you never know who you're going to meet and how you're going to learn about writing and publishing from the people you interact with. So I would always recommend, if you are serious about becoming a writer, to get out there and look for organizations where you can meet with people that have the same interest as you. An organization that really helped me is the Society for Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. They are a wealth of information. They are very helpful and have lots of events where you can learn more about writing and illustrating. So that is a great place to start. And if you are a parent and you have your kids at home and you need something for them to do, writing or having your kids write about or record what goes on or their interest is a great activity for them to do, to not only practice writing, because I think the best writing happens when it's authentic, not necessarily when it's academic or for a school assignment, but also for them to journal and document this time in our lives. And as I tell the kids, as an art teacher now, the most important thing when we're making art, whether it's drawing or writing, whatever your craft is that you're having fun and that you find joy in it. Because if one thing I have learned from this experience in 2020 of having the world turned upside down is that we need to look for the good in every day. So regardless of your situation, we can use writing and creating to find the good and find the joy and share it with other people.
I think that's a wonderful suggestion for our new writers as well as existing writers. I think that's spot on what we need to focus on and to delve into. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you, because you have been you were an excellent source and an excellent, a source of help to me when I first started out, because there were a lot of things that I learned about writing from you just in our first interaction with each other back in Harper's Ferry. I remember where it was too, that I had no idea about. And, so, you are a great resource for parents and writers or future writers that are interested in books and publishing.
Well, thank you. It was wonderful getting to spend that time with you when we were at Bolivar Library that day to do the author event. I really enjoy meeting with groups. I've met with a couple of classes and done readings and Q&A sessions with them at schools. I've also met with a couple of writing clubs from homeschool group and another school group, and just sat down and met on a Saturday for an hour and a half and just talked about writing with kids who really wanted to write or are already writing, and just walking through it. And I think that it is important, like you said, to connect with other writers or other people who have those similar likes and interests, so that you can draw from their experiences and bounce ideas off each other. I think that it's a real lift to be able to do that, because writing a lot of times is a very solitary activity. Mm-hmm. And you have a lot of introverts that are writers. And I know mm-hmm. I tend to be that way too.
Me too.
And being an author and putting my first book out in 2013, I've had, over these 7 years, it's been a lot of change for me to put myself out there and meet with people and talk with them and be in front of people, even just being at vendor events and greeting people and talking to them as they walk by and trying to get them interested to come over and see your books. I was very uncomfortable with that at the beginning, and now it's just second nature. So, it definitely, even if you're an introvert, it's definitely important to connect with others and to learn from their experiences, and to put yourself out there a little bit at a time, so that you might be a little uncomfortable, but it's not going up and, in front of thousands of people and reading your book the very first time. It's something, those small steps you take to grow and to feel more comfortable with your writing. Mm-hmm. But I think you're right that just connecting with other writers and in groups like that is a tremendous value. Well, I just wanted to see if you can give us your website or email if anyone wants to reach out to you and schedule a talk with you or
Sure.
talk about any of that, so our listeners can try to reach you.
Absolutely. You can learn more about my book and I have a blog where I share some views on education and things that are publishing related at erinsponaugle.com, ERINSPONAUGLE. I know that's a lot of words there, but you can also find me on Instagram at Next Chapter Press. That is my publishing imprint. And I have recently started a podcast. I don't have a lot of episodes up yet. With everything that's going on in the teaching world right now, I kind of eke one out a month at the rate I'm going right now. But you can listen to my episodes on a podcast at The Next Chapter for Teachers. So that is where you will find me online, and I am hoping in the next